Welcome to Your Epic Pursuit. I'm Mike Mooney. This is a space that's been created for us to gather, for us to have inspiring and real conversations with people to talk about and celebrate their leadership journeys and their performance. The conversation is going to flow through the epic lens of excellence, presence, intentionality, and curiosity. And the goal, quite simply, for us today is to provide you with insights, tools, actionable ways that you can accelerate your leadership journey. And today, I'm really excited to have with us Greg Shea, who is the CEO of Campbell Marketing, a longtime friend through the motorsports industry. And Greg, thanks so much for carving out the time to be with us today. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mike, for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, of course, man. I always say that our energy and our time are two of our greatest resources, and we never really get enough of that. So I appreciate you bringing that today for sure. And we were talking earlier about your run in the sport. I mean, motorsports primarily with Campbell for we were saying like almost 30 years. You've been there, which is so incredible. We talk about oftentimes leaders being able to sort of bounce, grow in different environments, yet having the opportunity to grow, learn, be more of that culture, see all that fabric has come to life and come together. It's got to be just an incredible journey for you, for where you started and now leading the organization.
Well, without a doubt, remember I was in Major League Baseball for 8 years, and I was in Division I college athletics for a few years before my colleague Kevin Kennedy, friend of mine and longtime partner,
Yeah.
asked me to join the company. And between Kevin and our founder, Rod Campbell, they kept on reassuring me that this was a place where I could be, a great asset. And it took me a few years to really see that. I mean, it was a big change for me leaving what the motorsports folks call the stick and ball world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And of course, I went from being client side to being agency side, which is another significant mindset change.
Big shift.
Huge shift. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that I saw a 30-year run in me after 3 or 4 years, but there were people here who saw things in me that perhaps I wasn't recognizing in myself right away. And I'm appreciative of that because over the course of time, I think I started to my vision and their vision started to coalesce a little bit.
Well, you start to see a little bit. Hey, maybe
Yeah.
maybe they do see something here. I mean, Rod and Kevin are two outstanding, not only leaders, but I'd say mentors as well, right? I mean, these are people who can see things in others that they just wouldn't ordinarily see, and
Right.
to have the opportunities to keep growing in a space like that, going from stick and ball to going in circles
Right.
in motorsports. I mean that's a huge pivot for a lot of people. Some can do it, some can't. I mean, clearly you have. And during that time, Greg, there's been a lot happening within the not only just the industry. A lot of people think about the industry flex points, but there have been a lot of things happening during your tenure as a leader
Mm.
there at Campbell that have had larger impact, but obviously drills down to the people that you work with. And I'm curious, was there a decision that you had to make in maybe one of those pressure situations? I mean, we were talking earlier about whether it was the recession, you had COVID coming in, but was there a decision that you had to make that was pretty bold, that maybe others kind of question, maybe even yourself, you're questioning, going, I don't know if this is going to play out or how it's going to play out, but it did, and I'm curious how that maybe it had changed your trajectory a little bit as well as a leader.
Well, there's no doubt. And for me, those types of decisions almost always involve people,
Mm.
Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are you placing trust in? So shortly after I was handed the reins of the company as COO, I needed to go through and sort of reinvent our structure and reinvent oversight.
Mm.
And I remember two decisions specifically that actually occurred maybe a year or two apart from each other, where I chose people that were here to take over some pretty strong responsibility, some
Mm.
pretty broad responsibility that people looked at me and said, "Really? Okay." Um, the first one involved somebody who'd been here for a while who was sort of viewed in the company as a gadfly, someone who was viewed as a constant complainer,
Mhm.
a contrarian within the culture.
Wow.
And so my bosses were sort of expecting that when I took over, that I was going to find a way to ease this person out of the company. And in fact, I ended up saying, no, I think she needs to run all of this and and oversee a significant piece of our marketing activation. Um,
Holy cow.
and I
Okay.
remember one of the partners walking into my office and saying, "Really?"
Yeah. I was gonna
And
say,
I said,
how did you explain like, I'm sure there's that moment where they're like, "Oh, okay, either there's a punchline here or you've really thought this through." So help us understand what you think
"Yeah,"
or what you said.
and there was certainly not gonna be a punchline. It was,
Mm.
"Look," and I remember looking him dead in the eye and said, "This is a person who has incredible respect from the people who report to her.
Mm.
And yeah, she's a pain in the ass to you." Okay.
Okay.
Yes, she is a contrarian as far as you are concerned, and as far as some of the leadership decisions that have been made up to this point, and she's vocal, and that bugs the crap out of you. But the fact of the matter is, she has a ton of cachet out there with
Yeah.
these people who have to make it happen.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm riding with her,
Wow.
and we're gonna go. And so, that caused a little tension
Yeah.
in that
Sure.
space between
Sure.
me and one of my bosses for a period of time. But that was a really, really important decision, and it paid dividends for the next 7 years. Um, and then the second one happened just a couple years after. Um, I'd had somebody on one of my key accounts take a position outside the company with one of the ad agencies that we do a lot of close work with,
Mhm.
and I had leaned on I made a mistake. I had taken somebody who had been a long time at the company in the motorsport space and said, "I'd like to move you from this space where you're comfortable, and I'd like to challenge you on this other account."
Right.
And that went very, very poorly. It was a
Really?
bad decision, and I remember getting a call from a client who said, "Greg, this is not up for discussion. We need to make a change. We need to make a change."
Yeah.
And so the first thing was going to that person and saying that person who I'd moved into the role and saying, "Look, this is not working. I want to put you back in your comfort zone." But the
Mm.
second thing was identifying the person who could step into that role and immediately calm the waters. Right?
Seamlessly be that presence that can
That's
say,
right.
"Hey, we're good." Yeah.
Right. And so I remember sitting down with the prior person, the person who I put into this important role over the objections of one of my bosses,
Yeah.
and I sat with her. She's probably 4 years into her run in that role, and I said,
Mm.
"Okay, look, we gotta make this change. Who do we put in here?" And there were some obvious choices
Mhm.
that had um, a lot of capability and roots in the performance world.
Yeah.
And then there was this one person who just had a ton of want to, a ton of capability, was super duper competitive, and had great client skills. And I said, we got to go with her.
Wow.
We got to
She
go with
hadn't
her.
had time in the seat yet. Is that what you're saying? Like, you could see the skills.
Had no time
Yeah.
in with this client, had no time in motorsports, period.
Wow.
And we sat with her and we said, "What do you think? You know, these are the clients, this is the way this works. What do you
Mm.
think?" Had been with the company for probably 8 years at that point,
Okay.
doing some great work on another spot, and we basically said, this is a growth opportunity." And it was a great decision. I heard almost immediately, within a month,
Mhm.
from the clients that this person's presence, commitment,
Yeah.
um, personal investment
Right.
in their work was obvious. And those are the kinds of decisions. Those are the kinds of decisions the where the people that you are trying to lead, and I always say trying to lead,
Yeah.
um, they end up coming and saying, "Okay, I think our management knows what they're doing." You know, I think our management knows what they're doing,
Yeah.
and we have to have those opportunities to do that. So yeah, I think
Mhm.
both of those. The first one definitely. The second um, one that I'm very proud of because it really stabilized an important piece of work for us, and it also showed people in the company that if you display these qualities, you're going to get opportunities.
Mm.
And
Yep.
and that's an important message for our team.
Without a doubt. And that what I love about the thread. There are a lot of things I love about this, but the thread that I'm going to pull through is that word trust. In the first piece of it, I heard you say, and I wrote it down. It's also about placing trust in people, letting them know
Mhm.
that you do trust them and their ability with this opportunity. The second, though, I got to tell you, I'm not sure which was the bigger gut check. Was it the bringing someone in and stretching them into a position, or before the partner saying, "No, this is the decision that I'm making and I wanna go forward with," even when they're shaking their head going, "I don't I don't see it," right? So,
Right.
there had to have been a level of trust too, where they were saying, "You know what, Greg, we put you in this position."
Right.
Literally and figuratively.
Right.
And we trust that you'll make the best decision you can. I don't think there's always the right or wrong. I just think that there's
Right.
like the best decision you can make
Right.
best based on the circumstances, the information you have in the moment.
Right.
Because it's too easy to come back and Monday morning quarterback and say it was right or wrong. Well, all you could do is put the data in front of you. And it sounds like on that first one, it paid out just incredibly. Now the second one, right? And I appreciate you sharing that too, because too often people share the highlight reels and say, "Oh, well, let
Yeah.
me tell you how this worked and how well it went." But I also think that we learn equally, if not more, in those moments when it was like, okay, that didn't work out." So I'm curious, like, just a high level, what was there a lesson that you pulled from that moment where you're like, "Ooh, this wasn't the right person," and the client didn't want it, and that's touchy, I know, because there's sometimes where the client they try to sway too much, and it's right for the
Mhm.
business, but you also have to realize and remember who's paying the bills.
Right.
But I'm just curious, like, was there a lesson in that experience where that you took away as a leader that said, next time I may think about this differently," or
Well, there's no doubt.
yeah,
Look, you've been agency side, Mike, and you know that every client is different.
yeah, yeah,
And the learning that always comes through to me. Now, I'd been with the company for 13 years when I'm in this role, and I'm 13, 14 years, and I'm making this decision.
yeah,
And everybody wants to simplify by creating templates for, in their mind on
mhm,
how I deal with certain types of clients and how I deal with certain types of accounts. That's really dangerous to do.
yeah,
It really is. Everybody is human and every account has a different vibe and a different heartbeat.
yeah,
And the
right,
fact that somebody is successful over here with that heartbeat, with that cadence, with that volume and pace,
yep,
right,
yep,
doesn't necessarily automatically qualify them to be transferred from that account into this other account.
yeah,
And so the huge learning lesson for me at that point was, Greg, as chief operating officer, you're responsible for quality of product, client satisfaction, and profitability. Okay. Client satisfaction, you better have your finger on that. Quality of product, what's going out the door? How are you connected to it? Profitability, what's the mix of people that we have? Okay. Do we have the right mix? Do we have it at the right levels? How we do this? And when you consider all of those things, you have to be willing to break down all of your client relationships in a way that allows you to understand really what drives that.
mm,
What is driving that? And a big realization for me and a huge piece of humble pie that I always take with me, and I've been through these for 30 years. I've made countless mistakes. I am not the smartest guy in the room all the time. I'm not. I'm not. Sometimes I'm not the smartest guy at the table.
right,
And so my willingness to, I think that one of my strengths is a willingness to say, hold it, this is the way I see it. Am I seeing it wrong?
yeah. I mean, that's the
You
power of
know?
curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, look, the bottom line is I want us to be right. I don't need to be
mm,
the guy who's right in order to make us to be us right,
right,
right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
if we have to win, we have to win the game somehow. I default to sports analogies way too often, but in a team environment, if we win and we win because you're right when you need to be right, and that meant that at that moment I wasn't entirely right, that's okay.
That's all right. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Let's win that together, and that's how we build team, and we build, and this again leads to trust, right?
It does. It does. And another thing I hear there is it's the ability to set ego aside because too
Mm,
often ego is driving our decisions and keeps us in this mental frame of preconception.
right.
And that's a dangerous place to operate from when you're leading, whether you're on the agency side, the
Mhm.
corporate side, wherever it is. If you're leading from preconception versus curiosity and saying, I'm going to put my ego over here, but tell me something here, that I should
Mhm.
be considering. I mean, that's a downfall of so many, you know. You reminded me of a thought I hadn't thought about this in years, Greg. I was years ago on the agency side leading a piece of business with a client from the Northeast, and we were here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and one of the people on this person's team was from Concord, North Carolina. And he took me aside about 6 months after I put this person on the account and said, "We need to get this person off the account." I said, "What's the issue?" And I said, "Is it work related?" Because I'm thinking work product or something inappropriate. And he said, "No, I just don't like the way she sounds. She sounds ignorant. I can't have that representing me."
Wow.
So that's a story for another time. But the reality is sometimes like you're dealt with a decision from a client that you've got to manage because the person's fantastic in the role and what they're doing.
Mhm.
You gotta walk that bridge of, okay, how do we manage this relationship now, you
Right.
know? So, anyway, I love the trust. I also love how you filtered your work and your thinking through your role, through what it is that you are there to do, right?
Right.
I think that's such a powerful grounding point, um, on so many levels, so many
Mhm.
levels. Now, Greg, looking through that lens and continuing, there are times when leaders, we've got to make some unconventional decisions,
Mhm.
so we got to, you know, in particular, not just externally, when we're having, again, there are pinch points within the economy or what have you, but even internally with our teams,
Mhm.
right? There are times when they hit the wall. There are times when maybe they plateau. And I'm curious, was there ever, a time when you were facing that with your team, and did something that was unconventional, maybe even for yourself? But I'm thinking with your experience with teams, you've probably run into that, but something do unconventional that really helped lead to a breakthrough.
Well, there was. There are people at the company who will say that it may have been a decision and a set of actions that saved the company. Uh,
Oh, I love
right,
this.
right in the smack dab in the middle of the recession.
Okay.
Um, we had, as you know, many of the big corporate clients that agencies like us serve
Mhm.
were hoarding cash back in 2007, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And so we were being approached by some of those clients in that same vein, within that same sort of paradigm, being asked to make concessions on our rate cards,
Oh, right,
you know?
of course,
And
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
challenging, right? "Oh, hey, we know you've been charging us, your rates are this, and normally, after a few years, you come to us and you ask us for rate increases.
yeah,
But
yeah.
now we, the client, we're coming to you and we're asking you to help us out here. We're hoarding cash. We need you guys to reduce your rates."
Mm,
And they went through all of these sessions, and we were not in a good place. At the end of 2008, we were not in a good place with one particular client,
okay.
and they were making it very clear that because we couldn't come to an appropriate agreement, um, there was a chance they were going to bid all of our work out. Okay,
Whew.
um,
Okay, so,
as
again, yeah, okay, so is the 10, 15, 20%, whatever that is, cut worth
right,
losing
right,
the entire, right? So
right.
okay, yeah,
So we were
great.
sitting in this, and we were about two and we had the meeting with this client and their finance and purchasing organization, and we knew the train was coming. We were on the train tracks, and we're pretty sure that's a train coming at us. and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And look, ideas come to me at strange times. I'm sure that they do with you too. But I remember one day I came into the office and I'd had a bit of of a breakthrough in my own head
Mhm.
early in the morning, and I came in and I sat with Kevin,
Yeah.
and I said, "Look,
And
I think this."
At the time, Kevin was in what role at that time?
Kevin was leading our PR capability. He was
Got it.
leading our
Okay.
PR competency.
Yep.
But he and I talked frequently, and he and my CFO, terrific guy, the three of us had a lot of conversations on this stuff. But I went to Kevin's office and I said, "Look," I said, I think I need to," I said, I think I need to turn this on its head." Um, and he said, "Okay, what are you going to do?" I said, I think I personally, one on one, need to go back to that client and that purchasing organization one on one. I knew who I wanted to go talk to
Yeah.
and renegotiate everything right there, one on one. Cut the deal myself. We had up to that point over 18 months, we had a committee of like 4 or 5 different people talking to purchasing, and they had 5 or 6 people on their side talking to me. And I said, we're going to stop this. And
Wow.
I went to my CFO and I said, I think this is what I want to do. I want to sit down over the weekend. I want to work out 2 or 3 different rate cards that are all reductions from where we are.
Mhm.
And he said, "Great." He said, "Bring them in." The CFO said, "Bring those rate cards to me. I'll let you know whether we can be profitable with them." Right?
Okay, okay.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, "I'll let
Yep.
you know whether or not we can be profitable with them.
Yep.
I'll let you know what, yeah, that one will, yeah, we can be a little profitable there. Yeah, we can be tiny, little, minuscule profitability there. No, we can't be profitable with that. You can't go back with that one."
Okay.
And so I'd worked out some ideas. I went through, and it's funny because the CFO is looking at me and he's like, "You're going to do this. You're going to go and you're going to craft these cards." And I said, "Yeah." I said, I've got a good handle on this." So I spent a weekend putting together, actually, I put together 5 different rate cards. And I came in on Monday morning, gave them to him. He did his work.
Yeah.
And then we went and saw our boss, our
Mhm.
president at the time,
Mhm.
and said, "Look, this is what Greg wants to do." It wasn't this is what we want to do. It's this is what Greg wants to do.
CFO is
Right.
saying, "Look, I helped a little bit here, but
Right.
this ain't my baby."
That's right. But he was tremendously supportive of me.
Yeah.
But my president looked at me and he said, "So Greg, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to call Katie
Mhm.
and I'm going to ask for a meeting and I'm going to say, look, we're I'm coming to you. I want to cut this deal with you, right?
Mm. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm going to slide her a rate card that shows her a set of reductions and let her react to those.
Mm.
What I want to get something in return, and
Yeah,
the return is, I want to make sure that these rates get in place, but I want to pull back any idea of bidding out our business.
that's right.
Okay,
That's right.
and I want to make sure that we can activate these as soon as possible so that we can rebuild business as quickly as we can as we're coming
Mhm.
out of the recession.
Mhm.
It was, and the reason that was a real significant issue was that we had management here at that time who I was reporting to in my role as COO
Right.
that had decided that our client's purchasing organization was just wrong. They were just
Mhm.
wrong. They were wrong to ask us to do this. They
Wow.
were wrong that we needed to stand up for ourselves. And
Wow.
Kevin and I
Did
and
not see
CF
that coming. That's a plot twist.
yeah, and Kevin and I and the CFO had gotten together and said, "No, we're PCG Campbell at the time. We're
Yep.
PCG Campbell. We are definitely not on the moral high ground here. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Our clients employ way more people. The actions they're taking to conserve cash
Yeah.
are all about making sure their enterprise can operate and
Right.
to preserve jobs.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And little old us standing up and saying, you guys need to treat us better is simply not going to get any sympathy
No.
in this economic environment.
Right.
And my president, to his eternal credit, looked at me dead in the eye and he said, "It'll be a hard sell for me with the other 2 partners, but I'll take them on. You go do what you got to do." And I had a meeting.
Well, no pressure now, Greg.
Right, exactly, right. I had a meeting
Yeah.
with my counterpart at the purchasing office within 10 days.
Mhm.
when she sat down with me, her first words out of her mouth were, "I'm really surprised to see you."
No kidding.
Yeah, and I said, "Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?" And she
Yeah.
said, "It's a good thing. I thought you guys had decided that you just didn't want to have this conversation anymore." And
Wow.
I said, "Well," I said, "Katie, you're dealing with me now." And
Mhm.
I said, "We definitely wanna have this conversation." And I had a second meeting with her where we decided on the rate card that she was going to test
Mhm.
in her organization, and I remember so this is about a 6-week process.
Yeah.
I'd gone in with her in late March, had a second meeting with her in early April, and then I got a call from her the first week of May. I remember it like it was yesterday because it was so important. And she called me up while I was in the car. My wife and I were driving to her hometown for our nephew's wedding, and this is in May of '09. And I got the call from her, and she said, "I've talked to all your." First of all, she said, "Your rate card checks out. It represents a reduction in that we are willing to live with. It was within the tolerances of our agency portfolio,
Yep.
and I've talked to your business owners at the company, and they are all very, very pleased with the progress that you have brought to this, and we're good with this. I'm letting you know that we're good with this, and we'll have everything in place and wrapped up moving forward within the next 60 days."
Yeah.
And I called my CFO and and Kevin immediately, let them know what was going on. I came in Tuesday morning. I when I had the wedding that
Mhm.
was a weekend affair. Got back, saw my president. I let him know what was going on. He closed the door. He gave me a big hug and he said, "You have no idea how big that is." And,
Wow.
it was a big deal. It completely, it was not the way that we had done business as a company in the past.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Which makes people nervous. It's like, "Hey, man, we this isn't what we do," but the
right,
environment that we were in, it wasn't like a normal time of renegotiation where the client's pinching you because they wanna pinch you, you know?
exactly
I
right.
mean, it was
Exactly right.
so much more going on, it was more
Right,
dynamic than
right.
you know?
Our clients at that time were getting pressures like you have no idea,
Yeah.
and we had to demonstrate that we were a partner,
That's right.
Mike.
That's
We
right.
had to demonstrate that we're here to help share the pain,
That's
right?
right.
You know?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big deal, and again, had a tremendous impact, I think,
Mhm.
with the rest of the staff, but particularly with my direct reports, who I had clued in to what I was doing,
Sure.
and they were all like, "Boy, Greg, you know, this is good. We run the things that we run, and you run the things that you run,
You run, yeah.
and that's good."
And that's good. And again, building trust. You know
That
what I love about though is that decision to say, look, we could keep doing it the same way of trying to get to an answer through committee, and all that's going to do, as we
right.
know, it's going to extend this out. We don't have that time. We don't have that luxury to
That's
be
right.
doing this, right? But the courage to say, I want to have an intentional conversation
Mhm.
with this other decision maker, and then going through the internal process to make sure that you can go out, you can actually go and run the traps the right way
Right.
with the right options, and having a leader to say, okay, phew, I'm going to give you cover, I need you to go do what you do,
That's right.
it is so powerful. And the opportunity, i'm curious um I'm curious, how, like, did that partnership, did that client stay on? Did it, were they a longer partner of yours moving forward?
Actually, she got rotated out to another part of purchasing within 2 or 3 years. At 5 years in 2014
Yeah,
and at 10 years in 2019, I sent her an email both times
that's
to
awesome.
say, "Hey, I just wanna let you know, I was thinking back on what we did together X number of years ago. I really appreciate you trusting me,
Mm,
to come in and have an honest, transparent conversation with you." And both times she came back to me and said, "Greg, it took some courage on your part too, you know?
Without a doubt.
And I really appreciate the fact that this is somebody who is this is not an adversary. This is somebody that we do business with for a long time, and
Absolutely.
we have to embrace opportunities that even when we are in differences,
Mhm.
that we are never adversaries. We are
That's true.
never adversaries,
Yeah.
you know?
It
And so I hold her in high esteem. If there's a hall of fame in my part but the part of my mind that thinks about great people that
Yeah.
I've dealt with while I've been in this industry. She's certainly in the top 5.
And then I believe it. I believe it because sometimes some of the best and relationships you can ever build are the ones that you wouldn't have thought you would be building.
Oh,
But you find them kind of in the trenches together where you're there
right,
trying to find that common ground. No, we're not adversarial here. We're just trying to find common ground that works for us both. And look, you stepped in. It's like here are the options that I have. How can you make this work? How do we get there?
right.
I think it's powerful, man, on so many levels. Now, coming out of that, then from in terms of you think about leadership and the principles of leadership, we've really kind of keyed in on trust as being one of those through lines today on so many levels. But is there a principle that you've leaned into over the years, maybe as you've grown, um, matured, evolved as a leader that might contradict conventional, wisdom, something that's maybe a little different than what people would be expecting from a leader? I mean, I kind of got a sense of it when you were just telling that last story, quite honestly, of in a way trusting your gut, but thinking like I have to do the right thing by the relationship, and I know I'm probably going to catch some
Right,
flack internally, some friction, what have you, but,
right.
I gotta go there. But is there a principle that you've leaned into?
Yeah, for sure. The key here is what that you asked the question about is there something that I lean into that's contrary?
Yeah.
And the one I think I'm not afraid to talk about, and I especially use it when I'm talking to new employees, is
Mhm.
you're never gonna hear me talk about family. Now, I'm talking about my family.
Yeah.
I don't ever talk about Campbell being a family. I will never do that.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
talk about Campbell being a team, being a
Mhm.
close-knit team. I will not talk about the term family. And the reason is there are times that in my role, I have to do things and make decisions that affect people in ways that are absolutely not family.
Family. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I just hired a terrific guy to come and join our company just a few months ago. And he and I were sitting down a couple different times. This is an important position that I wanted him to have line of sight to me on.
Yeah.
And when I reached out to him after our second or third discussion, he said, "You know, I really get a family feel from the place." And I said, "I'm glad you feel that way." I said,
Mm.
"But you're never going to hear me use that terminology.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I will lean into team with you. I will never lean into family with you." Which is very different than the way Kevin operated. Kevin is all about talking about family. That is such a dominant theme with him, though it is his persona, and I love that about him. It's one of the things that makes him so great in terms of how he reacts to people and how he deals with people. But for me, I do believe that leadership is a little lonelier.
Mm.
Leadership is involves moderating your distance to people. I want to be connected and I
Mm.
want people to understand that I'm involved,
Right.
but here's the thing, there's as much as I say I don't wanna talk about family, I also will never ever say, "Well, it's business, it wasn't personal." For
Uh,
every one of my employees,
yeah.
their work here is personal.
It's personal.
It's personal to them.
Yeah.
And so when somebody says to me, "Well, I hope people understand this isn't personal," I'm the first one to raise his hand and say, "Hey, let's have a gut check on that.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's personal."
Yeah.
It's personal. So when we talk to our employees, when we try to be as transparent as we can about what drives salary decisions, what drives promotional decisions, what drives us walking into somebody's office and saying, "Hey, we see potential in you. Do you think you'd be willing to walk out of your comfort zone on this and walk into that
Yeah.
and take on a whole different set of challenges?"
Yeah.
Right?
And we have your back, by the way.
And we have your back.
We're not gonna throw you to the wolves, but yes, yeah, yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
I have sat with people who I care deeply about and said, "Look, you are going to be a part of the future of our company.
Mm.
I'm dead certain of that. If you wanna be here, you're gonna have that kind of impact. But I know you want that job that you're going to apply for here at the company. You're gonna apply for that promotion, and you may not get it. And I want to assure you that whether you get it or you're not, if you are not the solution, you're certainly going to be part of the solution.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's about that reinforcement, and those are the reinforcement of belief. I believe in you. I want, and we want. I don't want this to be I.
Yeah.
We want our people to know it
Yeah.
when we see things in them.
Yeah.
I don't want our leaders, our supervisors to keep it a secret when we're proud of a junior or middle level employee. We want them to know, hey, we see things in you
That's right.
and we want to develop you, and we want to be overt about that because we want you to see opportunities to grow. We survey our employees at least once a year, usually twice a year.
Mhm.
The thing that we get dinged on the most is upward mobility. People's
Okay.
concern about lack of upward mobility.
Yeah.
And that's more a function of structure than it is of opportunity.
That's
Because
right.
if you look around our company, there are all sorts of people in leadership positions who have come up through the ranks, and we can point them out. But for that person,
Yeah.
they're not seeing it.
That's
They're
right.
saying, great, I see it in the people around me, but I'm not seeing it for me.
Where am I in this?
And where am I in this? And our ability as leaders to recognize that is really important. So
Mm.
I hope what I'm communicating to you in responding to your question is, once again, it's all about the people.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's all about the people. And while I will always recognize that it's all personal for each one of them,
Mhm.
I will never cross that line to
Yeah.
the point where I'm going to overtly say, we treat our people like family,
Yeah.
because I just don't know that we can ever live up to that.
Well, no,
I don't.
it's true, and at the risk of making fun in some ways, but hey, sometimes you don't want to be part of certain families,
Right, right, right. There are
So
certain family dynamics we wanna stay away from
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, they're
Right,
yeah,
right.
exactly right. What I really admire in that is recognizing that when we put labels, like leaders, when we put labels on the organization, family, that in itself can drive a different lens of decision making based
Yeah,
on that emotional connection or recognition of what that label could mean. And really it means different things to different people, right? So there's a huge risk you run, right, in mismanaging expectations, more importantly, mismanaging the business by going down that path. At the same time, though, what I also clearly see in this is when I talk about the word excellence, and that is about not saying we're going to work with excellence, we're going to show up with excellence. It's really about identifying the standards. Like, what does excellence look like? What are the behaviors, the words, the things that we as a team believe excellence is. So by you reinforcing that, and what I heard you say, reinforcing the belief in the people by calling out the actions of excellence, that's powerful. I mean, that's all driving a culture where people have clarity on what excellence looks like. It helps them understand that while there may not be that upward, hierarchy growth, there's also the opportunity for growth in responsibility, in experience, knowing that you've got leadership there that identifies good talent, stands by the talent, wants to grow the talent,
mhm.
right?
Without a doubt, and I think the other thing that to dovetail on that is, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm not afraid to tell you that my brain is more flip phone than it is iPhone, okay? So so how are we activating the iPhones that we have in the company?
Yeah,
How are we activating the 24 to 35-year-olds that we have in the company
that's right.
who clearly know how stuff works
Yeah,
and how stuff could, more importantly, how
good work.
stuff could work
Yeah.
in ways that my silly brain are not going to lean into, simply
Mm.
because my context is different than
It's different.
theirs. It's
Absolutely.
different, you know?
Absolutely. Yes.
We can't be afraid of that, and if I'm going to really maximize the potential of the people in the company, I've gotta recognize, once again, that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. My job here is to create a structure, I
Hmm.
hope.
Yep. Yep.
I hope a culture. I want, here's the other thing. when I say something to the people on the staff, I want them to believe me. So I want them to believe me.
Right.
So to my earlier point about family, if I start talking about family and I want them to believe me, they're gonna parrot that back to me, "But you said,
Yeah.
and I believed
Exactly.
you."
Exactly right. Yep.
So I want to make sure that when we talk to the staff, that we are always in a space where I believe our leadership does what they say they're going to do.
Yes.
I believe that our leadership believes what they say that we believe.
Yep.
I believe that our leadership emphasizes things that are truly important to the success of our company.
Mhm.
And and if we've done that, I think it's I think our supervisors in their day-to-day operation are able to build on that level of belief and credibility and authenticity
Yeah.
to draw out from the staff their best,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And, look, I'm not at my best yet, Mike,
Well, that's great.
but I'm a damn
That
sight better than I was 15 years ago. You
yeah,
know, I will tell
listen,
you
man, I
that.
mean, that's fantastic because you don't wanna be the same that you were 10 years ago, a year
Right.
ago, right? I mean, that's the
That's
whole idea with this where I use the word intentionally pursuit with this because life is lived in the pursuit. It's showing up each day, just getting a little better,
that's right.
you know, at what it is that we're trying to live into, what that vision of, right, is for ourselves and our organizations. Greg, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I mean, I'm the things that I've pulled out of here of placing trust in people, you know, going back to your decisions based on the role and filtering it through the role description instead of sometimes we get lost in what we want to do, but
Right.
really you are regrounding yourself. Power of curiosity and putting ego aside, right? Intentional conversations that build relationships long term and actually can save a business at a
Right.
time where you know you had all the chatter of no, we got to go about it a different way. I don't know if this is going to work, but powerful stuff. And then finally, you know, jumping into the idea of being mindful of labels that we place within the organization, right? Identifying the talent, reinforcing your belief in them, to recognize excellence so people can be freed up, right? To
Mhm.
to
Sure.
truly show up and work, serve, support, right? The business, their colleagues in a way that's authentic to them. Man, there's like no question in my mind of why your organization is as successful, as it is resilient is probably the better word I think I would use for that. Incredibly resilient, under your leadership, and I know you're humble, but I say under your leadership, and clearly though with people who also believe in that same vision. So, um, Greg, thank you so much, man. This has been fantastic.
I appreciate the conversation. I enjoyed it too, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and for those who are tuning in and listening, I hope you did as well. Rich content here, great takeaways for you as a leader as you're thinking about leading through adversity, change, crisis, building people. So I'd love to have your comments, your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.